Aloha, welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast. My name is Brad Bordessa, and you're tuned in to one of the episodes I've been hoping to bring to the podcast for the longest amount of time, and it just hasn't happened up to this point. But today, I'm sharing an interview that I did last month with Uncle George Kahumoku Jr., a major mentor of mine, somebody who has really helped kind of launch me up to the next level of being a professional musician, and somebody who has taught me a whole lot about life and being a good person and, taking care of your needs as well. All that stuff, a lot of it came from Uncle George. So really excited to bring his mana'o to the podcast. My name's Brad Bordessa. I live in Hawaii. I've been playing ukulele for about 20 years now and teaching and performing for almost all of those. I have a band here on the island called Kingside, and we play maybe 4 times a month spread out. Some weeks are really busy, some not so much. I also play steel guitar with Keoki Kahumoku and Sweet Kani Lehua, and play U-bass for Dagan Bernstein in The Kind Sound. So I'm, I guess what you could say, a professional musician. I do this all the time, and during my days when we're not playing gigs, I am very passionate about sharing my expertise through liveukulele.com and this podcast that you're listening to here. So I just share that so you know a little bit about my background and the experience that I bring to the table. I'm not just making this stuff up. Been there, done that in a lot of cases. But today's guest has been there and done that more than pretty much anybody, which is why he is like one of the best guests. Anyways, we'll get to that, but it's very exciting. If you like what you hear on the podcast, please subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. They're all free. It's great. You should definitely subscribe because I try to bring one guest a month. Sometimes like this month, there's 2 guests, depending on how flush I am with interviews. But usually it's 1 guest and 1 monologue a month, published on the 1st and 3rd Saturdays of every month. Except for November, December, I take a holiday break off, refresh, get ready for the new season. But we got a ways to go here yet in season 6. We're over 100 episodes on the podcast. And John Atkins, hello. Why did you choose the Ukulele Podcast, man, to rebrand Ukulele Tales, which was a nice title, to the Ukulele Podcast, the Live Ukulele Podcast, the Ukulele Podcast? It's just 1 word difference, dude. Come on, man, I'm trying to do my thing over here. Anyways, love John, but I saw that come through the other day. I was like, what? Why? A little bit of quick news. I have been reworking some of the navigation and the email interactions that I send out automatically through the website, and I've been revisiting 2 different things that I have created, 2 different wonderful learning resources. And the first of them is Left Hand Technique for Ukulele, which is kind of the flagship product that I have created. It's, I think, 50 video lessons, long video lessons. It is quite extensive, from beginner all the way up to super expert kinds of stuff, talking about the fundamentals of getting around the fretboard and kind of everything you need to pick and play efficiently so that you're not just getting the job done, but you're doing it elegantly and with the confidence that you know what you're doing, which is kind of the whole idea here. So that's Left Hand Technique. That's a bunch of video lessons. And then I also have been looking at step-by-step single string ukulele picking, which is kind of like the baby brother of Left Hand Technique. It's like the intro version of, you've never done any picking whatsoever. It's a great intro to teach you how to pick some melodies, how to get started on the right foot, the basic fundamentals of picking, the physical motions, and then also walking through playing melodies and how to basically navigate the fretboard. But all that stuff is amplified and brought to a much higher level in Left Hand Technique. It's sort of the upsell and the next sensical step that you would take after step by step. So I've been working on those automation emails to, lead people from step by step to left-hand technique so that more people can experience the wonderful content that is in there. It's my pride and joy. And I'm working on updating it slowly, trying to add a little bit more, it's left-hand technique. So I talk a lot about picking and the left hand moving on the fretboard, but the right hand is just as important. And I didn't, just by nature of like what it is, it sort of got excluded, but I no longer want it to be excluded. So I'm adding some videos on the right hand picking styles, and eventually it'll be strumming styles as well. Slowly, I've only added a couple at this point, but I'm working through that so that it becomes a little bit more rounded. So if you already own left hand technique, log in, check it out. You'll find that on the beginner and intermediate pages. Oh, maybe it's just beginner so far. I can't remember exactly, but going to be the different levels of picking styles and basically all the attack styles you might want to try. Check those out though. There's a few new videos in there for you to enjoy. And if you haven't enjoyed yet, if you haven't checked this out, you can go to liveukulele.com/store to look them up. But I've also been redesigning kind of the menu and the navigation for left-hand technique, so it's a little less overwhelming when you go to the course homepage. You're not staring at 50 different video links, trying to break it up by level and make it feel a little bit more inviting, and that the path through the course is a little bit more straight ahead. You don't need to make as many decisions. You just start at the beginning. Even if you're an advanced player, I'd like to think that there's a lot of useful stuff for advanced players to think about, even through the beginning module and all the way up. So very important stuff that I love to teach and I love to share about. And I love to think that these lessons can get used even years on since I have made them. Still as relevant today as they ever were, if not more so. Just because of the way that the internet has changed how we learn ukulele. This is my little way of pushing back and encouraging people, slow down, take your time. There's 50 videos, like hold your horses and really settle into focusing on learning the things that you're learning, whether it be left-hand technique or something outside of the course. Hold your horses, slow down. But that's a whole nother podcast I've done in the past. All right, so here we go. He needs no introduction, but I will give one anyways because I know a lot of our listeners are from the U.S. mainland and maybe have not heard of Uncle George Kahumoku Jr. Uncle George they call him the Renaissance man, and he has done a lot of stuff in his lifetime, like way more stuff, 3 people worth of stuff in his life, it seems like. He's an amazing slack key musician. He also plays ukulele, slack key ukulele. He's like one of the few people who actually teaches slack key ukulele. If you sit down with Uncle George for a lesson, he'll be like, "Oh, let's learn slack key ukulele," specifically in a varied tuning like that. But he's also a farmer, and if I can go on a little bit of a tangent from my time in the Institute of Hawaiian Music, Uncle George started that program. He decided that UH needed a Hawaiian music program on Maui. He started the Institute of Hawaiian Music. I heard about it. I got involved for the very first cohort when Uncle George was still getting things off the ground and getting it figured out. And a big part of my experience at IHM, even though it was in the early stages, it wasn't as polished, it wasn't as, university-ish as it has become now, which is fine, pros and cons to each. But I had the opportunity to just hang out with Uncle George because we were the students. He was really trying to make sure we succeeded in the program, and so he had a very active hand in our scholarship and the things that we were learning. And part of those perks were, on the weekends or on a day without school stuff, he would call us up and would be like, "Hey boys, I'm going to come pick you up, be outside at 9:00 or whatever." And he'd roll up in the Tacoma and we'd hop in and we'd go out to Kahakuloa to the farm and we'd help him pull weeds and haul mulch and plant kalo and all the Hawaiian farming things that I have come to know and love from hanging out with Uncle George and seeing how important it was to his life. I realized that a lot of the inspiration for Hawaiian music comes from that connection to the land, to the farming, to the food that you grow yourself. So that really transformed me. But after we had worked at the farm, kind of bust ass for 3 or 4 hours, then, we'd stop and we'd have an amazing meal. We'd eat like kings. We'd eat all kinds of stuff from out of the garden. And then we'd sit down and we'd kanikapila and we'd play some songs. And as he says in the interview, that was our payment. That was our kind of personal sacrifice for that bit of private lesson, for that bit of access to this wonderful mentor and this wonderful person with so much experience and so many stories to share. And that's just very tip of the iceberg. I also went out to the Slack Key show a number of times, like many times while we were in school. Sometimes with Uncle George, we'd go pick up mulch and we would, he'd have the truck would be full of mulch and you would go to the show like that. You'd go to Hawaiian Homes and take a shower, take a nap just in time to come back to Napili and play at the show. And I got to see all that, all the behind the scenes. And those were some of the best times, some of the very best times. I remember those days very fondly, and I cannot thank Uncle George and the General Kahumoku Ohana enough for all of their love and care and respect over the years. They really always have treated us like equals. Like you just roll up and like if you're willing to be humble and to do the work and to participate and, be cool, then there's always a place for you to participate and to take advantage of what they have. They're always willing to share that. So I always mahalo that and will for the rest of my life. This is Uncle George Kahumoku Jr., recorded at his workshop in Napili, Maui last month. Yeah, but I wanted to ask you, you have the scholarship kids here, and mentorship has always been a big part of what you do. That's how, we connected and how you were able to help me, level up and improve my music and just be a better person. Can you talk about the importance of that in Hawaiian music?
Well, I think the thing is, what we the teaching that I got came from my grandfather, and what he tries to do is look at all the strengths of a person and also look at their weaknesses as well and help them show up. But the fact is, what he helped each of us, I grew up with 26 cousins, each of us are different, just like we got 5 dogs, each of them are different. So what he tried to do is help us make a connection, to, first of all, with our own selves, then with the community and with the music. I mean, imagine 26 cousins playing music at a time. Everybody wants to be Jimi Hendrix. Everybody wants to take the lead and everything like that. So I found being very sickly when I was young. I had asthma and all that kind of stuff. I just took the back seat, I just kept the rhythm and the bass going, and I still do that, at the shows and stuff like that, because it's just like you're holding down the fort, So I think it's important to first of all make a connection. I did that even when I taught at-risk kids. Make a connection with the students, so like they feel like you like most of my students, till today. I mean, I see them all around. One of my students was giving me a massage, and they don't remember me for math, science, English, or whatever I thought of. What they remember is that that connection we had, that aloha that we had. And also the other thing you remember is food, because I was cooking in my classroom, and there was so much abundance even when I was in Lahaina Luna. There's all these 2,000 chickens running around. And all they really were, when I looked at them, I saw shoyu chicken. So I connected them not only on a physical level, but also actually on a spiritual level, because you feeding them, you're taking care of them, and then they feel like you're ohana. And even today, like even we had leftover food last night, So I called another one of my students who lives by. I know he comes from a huge Tongan family, like 17 of them. And just one call, and well, instead of feed them to the pigs or something, man. I mean, I had pans and pans of leftover rice, and also fried rice and all this stuff. So instead of wasting it, we were able to, source it to other people, and that's what I've been able to do. Not only with the food, but also with the music. Like a lot of students, like I took under my wing, and I think that really helped us, focus on the students was my son Kyoki. He started this ukulele contest at Hula Girl, and that flushed out all the students, at least in Maui County, who were interested in music. So they come to the music festivals, and I see them play and stuff. And when I saw somebody had that spark in them, then I actually took them under my wing. That's how I met Garrett Probst, Peter D'Aquino, Max Angel, and even Anthony Fluke. And the deal was, if you learn how to play music, that's fun. And I charge like $100 an hour, expensive. Or you can come help pull weeds on the farm. And everybody no more money, so it's the pull weeds on the farm. But, you get the whole total experience, with your Uncle George, You learn about the culture, but you learn about the culture to working the land. And even with Peter guys and even Sterling through fishing, just being immersed in the Hawaiian culture. So that's what I tried to instill in each of them. Even my son, he good fisherman, good hunter, and that way you can kind of take care of your family, and good planter, No, I don't know if he still got cigar, but last I heard he was still raising pigs in his dog kennel or behind his yard. Is he still doing that?
I think he was paring down, but yeah.
Yeah, but even me, I had to give up. Where I lived, I was catching 100 pigs a month. Just trapping them. It was just getting over. And then, lucky thing I had Auntie Nancy, scolding me. Okay, that's enough already. But then, my neighbors, I started trapping them for them. And when they call, I just go get them. I rope them, then in the trap, then I duct tape them out and move them out, and I give as many away as I can and have other people raise them, and I raised a few myself. Yeah. So I think that the main thing about mentoring all these people, just like yourself, is making that connection. Not only connecting you on a physical level, you see each other, but also on a spiritual level, and where you make the connection to the land and environment around us. So that's where I'm coming from. You know what I mean?
Well, and you mentioned, I remember the farm being, that was like home base for our connection, at least when I was in school living here in Maui. And I think that was such a big deal for all of us because we saw it all in action, and we saw that this Grammy-winning slack key master is just a
pulling
dude,
weeds.
just a dude who pulls weeds too. And I think that really struck us that you prioritize that lifestyle so much, even with your great career that you've had.
And I think, the problem, people look at me as like a musician, but really I'm a farmer who just happened to, get lucky in playing music. I grew up with 26 cousins out of them all. Even my younger brother, Moses, was a better musician than I ever was, and 10 other cousins too. But the difference I think it was made is that I was very sickly, and so my grandmother, I was raised by her, so she kept me by her side. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't, I had asthma. I was really, and we live in Kona. It's like, all the volcanic, all that sulfur is hitting us, and we were in a valley, Kelia. So I was really sick. I mean, when she finally let go, I went to this Dr. Kanoi. He was in Honolulu, and he said, you gotta let this boy get out and exercise his lungs and, go swimming, run around and everything. And so I was always, I felt like I wasn't good enough, kind of, you know what I mean? I had to always do more. So, but as a result, I was the one who, out of the 26 cousins, who organized everything. I was the guy hustling. I had cousins older, but they're all shy. I didn't need to drink or do drugs or anything to. Like my first thing, I remember we went to I always was able to see an opportunity and take advantage of it, So we go to my auntie's house, and she's at the Naval Housing. She has to babysit all us 26 cousins. So, what are you going to do? We didn't have video games or anything like that, So we were playing Monopoly and stuff like cards and stuff. Then she says, we need to, can somebody lawnmower my lawn? And I look at the lawn, yeah, I'd rather do that than stay, in the cards playing cards. So I lawnmower yarn, and then she gives me 50 cents, So her neighbor saw me lawnmowing, so can he do my yard, Then all the other cousins look at me, okay, here's this guy working, and we're making money now. And they're sitting in our okole. So next thing you know, and this was the naval housing, so. And it seemed what happened is that if you didn't mow your lawn, then the naval housing would send out someone to mow it, and it would cost you $2. So I was saving them $100.50 each of this lawn. Next thing we know, I had 400 lawns, the whole naval housing, and you just see how the opportunity came. It was one small little opportunity, and turned it. And then next thing you know, all of 20 cousins, man. We going to Auntie's house, not for play cards with him, but we go or play in the Monopoly. We're going there to make money, you know what I mean? But I was the guy who could see that. And when we made enough money, then I bought the heck with, and that was the old kind push more, that's what you're doing it, Like, and it misses a couple pieces of grasses that you got to go over like 20 times. So I said, the heck with this, man. Went down to Sears and Roebuck, paid for one of those gas, motor ones. For paid it cash, and man, next day was done. He's just cranking out those lawns. You know what I mean? So that's just one example of taking the opportunity to help out the cousins. And then when that gig went out, she eventually, my uncle got stationed in Okinawa, Japan. So we didn't have access to the naval housing. There was no reason for us to go there. So we used to go down to the Lurleen, and used to be at Kiwala Beach in Honolulu, not Kiwala, but the Honolulu Harbor, by the I forgot what they call it, please, but so it would dock. And then there would be all these tourists on the ship, and then they would throw money, down for the kids, and everybody would be jumping in the water, trying to scratch. There would be like 200-300 kids over there, but the difference is I had 26 cousins, so just to get them to throw money, I was really good at acrobatics and stuff, just like Kyoki. He actually studied for the Olympics as a gymnast, So I would climb up the rope now of the Lurleen and do triple somersaults and somersaults of that. And, the tourists would clap and they'd throw more money. And in those days, this is like the 60s, early 60s, they throw real silver dollars, not the dollar bills, but real silver dollars. That's a lot. And I'd be, the money would go down, but I had 26 cousins just waiting, so we'd elbow all the other 200 kids. We had a tribe, over there, like a gang or something. So, we all made money, So that was, and then even when the other thing that helped us launch our whole career, we started playing music at the hotels and all like that. That helped us out. But the biggest launch, I think, came when George Winston started recording all these dancing cat artists, from Uncle Ray Kane to Sonny Chillingsworth, Leonard Kwan, and Cyril Painui led, and my brother. Somehow, he got a hold of my brother before he did me, and my brother said, and like at the same time when my brother was playing music all over the place, I was farming during the day, but I only played Mauna Kea Beach 5 days a week, So when he made a connection with us, all of a sudden, and then he was distributed by the company that distributed him was Wyndham Hill, and Wyndham Hill was distributed by BMG. Now BMG is in 55 countries throughout the world. So George Winston made a deal. If you're going to take my stuff, I want you to take this Dancing Cat catalog. So what he basically did now, instead of being, us playing at a bar or seafood buffet or something, now we're playing in the performing arts centers of the world. instead of getting paid $100, a couple $100 a night, we were getting paid $6,000 to $40,000 a night, you know. So that was all the, you know, and we saw that as an opportunity, but it was George Winston who gave us that opportunity, you know, to take the music to a whole nother level. And then our music started getting played on, you know, like National Public Radio and also BBC and all over. So, and as a result, you know, the music, Slacky, and then other people heard about Slacky too. Like what's his name? Chet Atkins, you know, in the 80s. And then he wanted, you know, and Chet was having workshops in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so he asked, and at the time, Gabby, you guys was just coming out, and Gabby was breaking away from the Sons of Hawaii. So, Chet Atkins if he could send some guys. And lucky thing, I was just starting with Dancing Cat too. So, Cyril Pahinui, myself, and Dennis Kamakai started teaching for Chet Atkins for like 12 years, you know. We go to his workshop, and there's 2,000 students, imagine. They're playing bluegrass, and they're all young, from 15 years old up to 99 years old, you know. But we finally get to introduce a Slacky. Cyril was introducing his C tuning, and Dennis Kamakai had another C and G tuning, and I was introducing. At the time, I played in E flat, so I was introducing this E flat tuning, you know. So and then afterwards, people would hear about us. So we got you know, invitations from like Berklee School of Music all the way in Boston. So we go over and we teach like, you know, a whole weekend of workshops. Then we get called into the Savannah, you know, someplace in Georgia or whatever. And then even Puget Sound and California Music Camp. So we're teaching Slacky all of this stuff. And then people are learning. They're learning about our culture. They're learning about the tunings. And there was a time, like it's probably in the 70s there, when nobody wanted to share, you know. It was like sacred. And if you had, even my own uncles now, within my family, when they played Slacky or whatever, and even a Slacky ukulele or whatever, they would turn around. They wouldn't let nobody watch it. Even our own family members like that. That was so sacred. But then it was kupuna, like George Noope, Auntie Ulani Luahini said, hey, we got to start teaching others outside of our culture. So they you know, they started going to Japan, Mexico, and the roots that they planted way back then has grown into, I think in Japan they have over 2 million hula dancers already. And Mexico, they got over 100,000, you know. And then they know the language and they can speak them. They cannot speak English really good, but they understand the language. And so it was Auntie Edith, when I was playing music with her, who said, okay, we're going to teach this not only to Hawaiians, because that's all before in the hula was all, you got to be Hawaiian for learn. But she started teaching, you know, Caucasians, Japanese, whoever wanted to learn. So that was the turning point, what I call the Hawaiian Renaissance, from about 75 over to about, you know, the 90s, early 90s, 92. So, and that's the time when we were teaching, going all over the country teaching. Now, fast forward to the Grammys, you know, the first Grammys that came out. And we keep my son was on the first Grammy album with, what's his name? Brockman. Yeah. And then, you know, we had our show going and everything like that. I said, and then we said, what? Brockman won. And I said, hey, if Brockman can win, we can, because we were doing a show here. So, so Daniel Ho came and listened to it, you know. Again, one other thing that was lucky for us is George Winston wanted to hear all of the Slacky stuff. So when we started the show, we recorded every single show, you know, but it wasn't no fancy thing. It was like a $50, you know, CD player that you buy at a store or whatever. It wasn't, you know, a stereo or anything. So after my son folks won with Brockman, Daniel Ho is passing by. He said, "Let me listen to that stuff," and he listened to it. And he said, "Man, I can fix this thing up. I can divide it. I can make at least into left-hand channel, right-hand channel, and all that. You can make it into stereo." So I said, "Oh, go do whatever you can do." And then, boom, we started. We got nominated 7 times in a row, and we won 4. And then after that, Daniel started breaking out his own, so he won another 3 on his own with Tia Career and stuff. But it's just we evolved organically, mostly because we were able to make the connection not only with each other, but with our community and even beyond our community. So I think that was really important. Yeah. Did it answer your question? Or I think you were right around the world.
No, that's so good. All the mana was great. So folks were learning from you in places that weren't Hawaii.
Right.
One of the big tricks of coming here to Napili and teaching at the workshop is lots of folks who learn the notes, they learn the chords, but then they still kind of feel like they don't quite have the Hawaiian sound.
Right.
What do you think makes for the Hawaiian sound?
I think what makes the Hawaiian sound is just being in our environment. You know what I mean? Let's look at what the themes are of our songs. They're about the ocean, they're about the mountains, they're about the seaweed, and they're about the food we eat, and it's about our relationships with others. They're love songs, you know what I mean? And so I think that's why these people are once they make the connection, and it's based on the common denominator really is aloha. Love for the land, love for the ocean, love for your environment, love for your loved one, you know what I mean? And once they see the connection and they're able to make it, then, you come from a place of aloha and you sing in aloha, you become aloha, you know what I mean? It's not something you see on a piece of paper or you just say. You become that. And eventually, I think that's what makes our workshop unique. That people see, they actually get immersed in the culture. Like before, when we first started this, we used to go fishing and we used to go set the net out here. We had an imu next door. We used to go kalupi. We used to make our own laulaus and stuff. Now it's changed because, the whole thing has changed. But, and most of the food that we did for our workshops came from my farm. All the bananas, the papayas. I killed 1 cow, like 8 pigs, 20 sheep. That's how we did it in the beginning, And it really, the thing that was the most expensive was the rooms, but the rest of the food, all like that, was taken care of, And what we didn't have, we'd purchase from the other farmers, and instead of purchasing from the other farmers, we just trade. We got all the sheep, okay. If you got extra sweet potato, give us a sweet potato, and then here's a lamb. You know what I mean? It's gonna be, we had 200-300 sheep and ducks and all of that. So we just basically, it was a whole trade mechanism, not based on money, just based on whatever you got and we need, and we just trade. A trade economy. So, did that answer your question, or go around? Yeah.
Yeah. So students need an opportunity to pull some weeds.
Yeah,
what I'm hearing.
In fact, when I taught the Institute of Hawaiian Music, I was teaching ethnobotany at the time. I didn't even know what ethnobotany was. Then when I found out it was about plants, I was forget about the books. Just come up to my farm. We had about 80 varieties of taro, 30 varieties of citrus, and 6 varieties of breadfruit. We had ava, we had sweet potato, all the canoe plants, plus we had the teas, mamake, koko lau, and olena, and also turmeric, and ginger. We had everything. So I think that when the students became immersed in the land, and even my students, when I taught Lahaina Luna, we used to go fishing and all like that, In fact, when I was at Lahaina Luna, it was an agriculture learning center. But, it was by mistake. One of my students, his grandfather owned the visitor channel. And so you make, let's say poke fish. But somebody give me an 80-pound ahi, so I dressed it. Taught the kids how to. Okay, we're gonna take off the middle bone. That's what we're gonna fry. We're gonna fry the belly and all that. But we're gonna make poke and sashimi for other parts, and then the head and the tail we're gonna make soup and stuff like that. So one of my students, he was a Haole boy. He would buy one fish at the it might be a 5-10 pound ako ahi. He'd do the same thing for his grandfather. Then another time we made some chow siu meat or whatever. I showed him how to do. We had actually a smokehouse in back of my classroom, but he did it in the oven. And then another time we made lalas. So whatever we made at school, he would go ahead and make for his grandfather. And we just did everything, chicken katsu and So the grandfather said, "What the hell kind of a school is this?" And he owned the business channel, so he started sending a crew over whatever we're doing. We're making the emu, we're coloring people. He even filmed us killing a whole cow. But he didn't show it on the business. So we did 52 episodes, everything from making malasadas, stuff like that. And so he sold the thing to Safeway and to there was I forgot the name of the. Anyway, it was two stores, and he called it Local Grinds in Uncle George. And my students were the head, we let them do everything. So they, even spam musubi, how to use the spam can to be, like your molds for you making. So he gave me, every 3 months, he gave me $15,000. That's a lot of money. Every year, so I'm collecting $60,000 a year. And he did that for 15 years because he would sell it, our things to Safeway, and I forget the name. It wasn't before Foodland was there. There was another name of I can't remember the name. It was a Japanese name. So with the money, I expanded the farm at Lahaina Luna, and we actually went out to Kahumoku, and there's all this raw land. So anyway, I was number one. I was able to pay the kids. I paid them like $5 an hour, and they love coming because now we're going up to the mountains. We're actually living the stuff we're learning in school. I taught math and all this, but it's like, memorizing rote numbers that you never use. It's useless. You know what I mean? But now they actually got to measure the doorway, the frame. They got to measure. We're doing drip irrigation, all this stuff. They're learning how many gallons per minute. So they're actually putting their math to use. They're learning how to build staircases and all like that, setting windows, putting in sinks and running plumbing. We even have made what do you call when you got water running through electric.
Hydroelectric.
Hydraulic, yeah, from the river flying by. We didn't get much, but it was enough just to run the lights for our little. And then we built actually 4 houses up in the mainland. I mean, not mainland, up in the Kahumoku Valley. We cleared 40 acres of land. Now the question comes, whose land is it? We didn't even give a rip. We just said we asked one of the kupuna there, Oliver Dukley, who's running the land. He said, "We come help." He said, "Well, you choose whatever you like and just go for it." So he gave us this stone wall to that point, and we started clearing the land and planting. And I said, "Whose land is it?" "Oh, some." He said, "That's his cousin or something, but nobody working them." So, the kids loved it. Number one, because they got paid, okay, and number two, they were learning the culture hands-on. They were building, we're building houses and stuff like that. And then we would also go fishing in the river. We catch getting high hihi-vai, and then we also were catching taijin prawns. So they actually saw the fruits of their labor. Then we go down at the Kahumoku Bay and we go fishing and we catch tons of fish. So, and we had papaya, bananas, lilikoi, all the guava we wanted to eat, and sweet potatoes, taro. So it was like a heaven. We did that for 15 years. That's how I met Nancy. I got a call from George Winston. He says, my sister's coming through, and she's bringing about 30 kids. They're going to go to Australia, they're going to Thailand, but they're passing through Hawaii. Could you teach her kids? And And what I did is I thought to myself, and we were building the house now, where we were building, you know, you got to carry the lumber a half a mile up the mountain. You know, it's not like a singer. We drive about a half a mile up, then we park our cars, then we got to cross the stream. We even built a bridge to go across the stream. Then you got to carry all this lumber up. And I'm thinking, oh man, free labor to help us carry lumber up the mountain, you know. So that's what they did. They came and helped us, and then that's how Nancy and I connected. Yeah.
So those students, did you ever do any music with them, or any of them
musicians?
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, you know, I was teaching, I had 4 maths, 4 Englishes, 4 social studies, 4 sciences. This is all the classes they're failing in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. But during the lunchtime, oh man, we busted the ukuleles, the guitars, and that's how Sterling used to come to my classroom. He wasn't even in my class. He wasn't naughty enough to be in my class. But here, all this action going on. And then he would, then remember the food, that everybody would smell whatever we're cooking, and they would just hang out. They said, and if there was enough, there was always enough. You know, I said, hey, come eat. And then we started jamming, then I set up a sound system. And with Sterling, he said, he would, oh, I want to do that. So he would set up the whole sound system. Then we'd be jamming, like, you know, 30 ukuleles, 2 guitars, whatever, bongos, whatever you want to have. So we did that during lunch, you know. And the other thing we did too was we had chickens. So we had 7,000 chickens. So we used to sell the eggs to the hotels and stuff. And we also had, you know, that smokehouse. So we'd make chelsea meat. And we had this garden with all these vegetables. So we used to buy those, you know, those cup of noodles. You know, you can buy like 6 for like, you know, 12, you know, a whole case for like $6. Then we'd sell them for $1, you know, or $2. But they always would have chelsea meat, would have 1 whole egg. They'd have, you know, pak choy and, you know, whatever vegetables and green onions on top of that. And man, we sold them like hotcakes. We were making another $2,000 a week on the Simon noodles, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's just like, and even today, you know, even my students, like I said, they don't remember the math, they don't remember the science, they remember the music, they remember the fact that we shared that aloha with them, you know, by sharing food. That was the biggest thing, I think. All they remember is, you know, the smell of, and you know, sometimes I had 6 grills going, you know, and the smell would go all the whole campus, man. Yeah. So those are great days. So that actually, and the cooking thing, you know, morphed into the workshop. So we did the workshops. We would, you know, do the cooking part and the culture. So it all went hand in hand, you know, for at least 26 years till this year we kind of catered everything because you know 3 years ago I stopped planting because we thought we were going to move like 6 weeks. It took us 3 years to move. So we didn't plant any more taro, no sweet potato. But I mean, we had lots of guava, lots of breadfruit, you know, lots of citrus. But we even have bananas and papayas. But we didn't have all the greens that we had before. And we didn't have no more sheep, no more cattle, no more pork, you know what I mean? So that all changed.
So what do you see as like the kind of the kuleana, the next step for the next generation of players?
I think the kuleana for, you know, that's the one thing about when I taught at Lahaina Luna, we were teaching the kids, yeah? But what we should have been doing is teaching the teachers too. Because what happens is when we left, when I retired and we had another friend, what's his name, Lance Morikawa. He was, you know, he was up country, you know, farmer too. So he had the really bad kids. They wouldn't allow him on campus. So you know, his farming too. He had you know hydroponics, and he had you know fish ponds and raising fish. He had the whole aquaponics thing down. So what happened is when we left a big hole. You know, I mean, our kids had the knowledge, okay, that were with us, and some of them became farmers, landscapers, whatever. But there was nobody to teach the next generation of teachers. So I think that should be our focus. Teaching teachers how to teach in a way we would, using the land, using your environment, that kind of thing. That's what's lacking. Because all of the teachers, when you go to school, they teach you this rote method that's been passed on from generation to generation within the education community. But it doesn't include our culture. That's missing. So, like I said, when we retired, I went back, go back to Lahaina Luna now. It's a desert. There's nothing. It's no more animals. The place is all brown. The grass is up 10, 12 feet, all the sheds and all the ponds we have is all full of weeds. So it's like all that work we did was good for that time, you know what I mean? And that's all we can count on. But we should have been teaching the next generation of teachers to do what we were doing. Because when we left, there's this big void. So I think the kuleana for the students that we teach is for them to carry on, and to learn as much as they can. Like, one of my students, he went to Institute of Hawaiian Music. Now, when you were there, you kind of like a star student. I mean, you just were jumping leaps and bounds, over the other students, and it was kind of unique because here's this haole boy, learning ukulele and all like that. So, and you were absorbing the culture as well. So I had another student, kind of like you, Anthony Fluke, and how I discovered him was through my son, Kyoki. He had those ukulele contests at Hula Grill. So when I saw somebody who had the spark, I would invite him. I said, I would take him under my wing and said, and he was only playing ukulele. So I take him under my wing and said, I want to teach you slacky guitar, but it's expensive. It's $100 an hour, or he got weeds. Anthony worked with me for 6 years. He would come every Tuesday, and he was homeschooled, so he could do that, And his mom and me helped clean land, plant taro, plant everything and like that, and clean the spinach and all like that, And then we do 1 hour work, then 1 hour of music. 1 hour work, 1 hour of music. And he was the one who helped me launch my, selling food to Hula Girl and also Leilani's and all like that, because they wanted our spinach and stuff. That was the foundation, and the taro and everything else was extra. And what was unique about even you, and you guys are self-driven, We didn't need to kickstart you guys. Whatever you said you're going to do, you did, and you did it better. And I think that's the kind of, go-to philosophy you got to have, to keep the music going. That's the kuleana for the next generation, to have that built it there and do whatever it takes. Those students like Anthony Fluke, and then come along. Another student was dancing. Dancing came, and he only played ukulele too. But then he came along, started taking, and the one-to-one classes he had with Uncle Led Kapana just made him blossom. And then before he never did sing either. But all of a sudden, man, he's just singing all these songs and everything. And what that did is he actually took listening, because he went to listen to all the old guys like Sonny Chillingsworth and all like that. And then he focused. And then he focused on the Hawaiian culture. So he decided not to go to IHM, but he wanted to just jump straight. So he went to Hilo. And I think that, really helped him a lot. So now he can speak fluent Hawaiian. He can write in Hawaiian as well as sing. But I think that's the kuleana of the next generation, to take it as far as they can take it. Because, this workshop has laid the foundation. But then if nobody keeps it up, it's just going to die, And then do stuff like what you do, write books, put it in writing and put it in, get it out there,
Yeah, but it's hard. I mean, that's all fine and good, but it's hard to capture the feeling and like all the Hawaiian culture, farming stuff with a book.
Yeah.
You know, like you can write about technical things or put it on a page, but like we see here, it's so challenging to help people sometimes learn to play by ear or whatever. Like if they never got that experience, then it's really hard for them to pick it up later. So it's, you know, I think there's always two sides to the coin.
Yeah. So to me, we should be doing more workshops. Like this is a thing that we you know, before we started this workshop, each of us had our own little bubble that we're working in. You know, we never did talk to. I mean, the only reason like I got together with Led and Uncle Ray and all like that was because of Dancing Cat. Our worlds was different. You know, Uncle Ray Connie lived in Waianae. At that time, Led was living down Kalapana, and I was living in Kona. So what's the chances of us ever getting together? And the thing that got us together was the tours. And, you know, that's what got us together to start talking story. And our bubbles sort of like intermingled, you know what I mean? We kind of overlapped. That was the first thing. And then the show that we started here. So, you know, what we did is, and thanks to Paul Conweiser, he was the guy who said, okay, he sees this thing going on, you know, in the world and all around, you know, but how come it's not happening on Maui? How come when we come back, we're still playing in the bars? How come we're playing down at the food buffets, you know? So it wasn't for Paul Conweiser getting the initiative. And, you know, guys like me, we're not going out there and pound the bushes for get one another or try to put this thing together because we don't even know what the hell you're talking about, you know? It's not even on our radar with us. So Paul took the initiative to go to all the hotels, and we were lucky that the Ritz-Carlton allowed us to do that. And then from that, you know, came the show. And then from the show, guys like Ed Bigelow, who was one of those students at Stanford, you know, wanted to continue it. So he came over here, visited me at my classroom, and next thing you know, he gave me all these computers, and we made a connection to. And then you know, we'd have all this, you know how us Hawaiians are. We write stuff by hand on a piece of paper with a couple of notes, and that's how we play, whatever the words are in the key or whatever. And then he said, well, you know, he can, and he's a computer guy, so he puts everything now, you know, on a page, all typed up nice and everything like that. And then my brother was in prison, so he would write all this, you know, holding your fingers and all that kind of stuff. And this is doing it just, you know those yellow pads, nothing fancy, but he had it really, you know, he got all this time in prison. So he's writing all these note stuff and everything. And I didn't understand it, actually. I just look at that. I know what the fingering is, but, you know, I don't understand what the hell he's doing. So Ed looks at that. He gets it right away because he's playing guitar too. So he transfers all of my brother's knowledge. He's been in prison at the time for 10 years. He puts it in the book. You know, then he starts listening to everybody, and he starts putting down the tunings just from listening now to the albums and stuff. That's pretty unique. And then later on, when he got to know everybody, then he checks, Led, is this your tuning? And then, you know, Dennis, is this your tuning? And then, you know, and just to go that far, it's unbelievable.
So all the this and that book, that's from Uncle Moses?
No, yeah.
Like the source?
Yeah, the source was Uncle Moses.
Okay.
But the guy who put it into the book was Ed Bigelow. He was able to take it to another step, you know what I mean? But Uncle Moses was the one who put all that stuff together.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, he had the time, you know, to think about stuff like that. Us guys out here, you know, we farming, we're working, we're doing that. No more time for things about stuff like that. Yeah. So, yeah, and so we had people along the way who helped and believed in us. Paul was one of them, and then I had another classmate, Wayne Wong. And Wayne was really good in computers, so helped us, you know, do our computer thing with online booking and set it up so, you know, then we, Paul and Wayne hooked us up with all the concierge. You know, there's a lot of stuff. And then they would make a little sheet of who's going to be for the month. They took pictures and then, you know, handed them out to our concierge. And then when they left, you know, Wainani took everything and she got their emails and all. Now she just emails everybody, So it's a lot easier. But instead of, we used to make the run. It takes you almost 2 days to drop off, talk story. And then and Paul would entice them. He'd bring them like, boxes of macadamia nuts or whatever, and, cookies or whatever, just so they remember us, you know what I mean? And that's what generated, the people to come to our show. And you got to realize now we're competing with all the luau's each hotel had. Plus we're competing with the luau show. What you call that? The luau shows. They even had magic shows. They had all kinds of other stuff, entertainment. They have Cirque du Soleil, whatever. All these different shows. So and because of this networking that Paul and Wayne and Wainani is continuing, we're the number 2 highest drawing event on Maui today. Besides Oda Lahaina Luna, they can serve like 400 people at a crack, and they're doing this every day, 5 days a week. We just do a show 1 day a week, but it is what it is,
So what is the future for the Slacky show and you and the workshop? Is there a vision?
Well, the vision is to keep it going and then to look for the next generation to keep it going. So, Wainani is like a treasure because she can handle the check-in. She can also do the whole. So it's multi-skills, But we gotta find other people. Maybe it's gonna be AJ to help us do with the CD sales and the product sales, because that's all that sales that we do doesn't go in our pocket directly. It helps us support the show. And then when we picked up Shem, see, the thing is with when we were doing with Peter and even Garrett and with JJ and those, they all played ukulele. So that's not what our thing. And once in a while, Peter would bust out the guitar, play one song. But same thing when we picked up Shem. At that time, I think he was 15 or 16 years old. And there was this conference. Somebody, we were doing all this. Remember, I said in Nashville, Tennessee. And one of the guys who was booking for the National heard we were doing a Slacky show, so he wanted us to, and they were doing something for graduates of guitar places, and so they wanted to have 2 students from every single state be represented at this get together, and it was going to be happening in Montana. So sight unseen, everything, but I knew Shem was just starting out. He's learning, but so we sent him over, And then after that, he was blown away by all the different kind of talent. You guys play rock and roll, bluegrass, whatever. So he came home and he just started concentrating, and because he can see what other 18-year-olds can do. He said, "Man, I can do that." You know what I mean? So that's why I'm counting in on him to keep the shows going. Then we got Sean Parks, plays like lead. That's another one, and then we also got Anthony Fluke. Now the reason we chose Shem is because Shem is on island. Economically, we don't have to pay for his room. We don't have to pay for rent a car and all like that. So it's mostly economic. But the other thing is, out of all the guys, even with Anthony Fluke, is that he's the most. He plays the most Hawaiian out of all the guys, and he's really there. The other one who plays the most Hawaiian really is Danson, Yeah. But Anthony Fluke, he plays good Hawaiian, but he's all over the place too, And same thing like Sean Parks, but Sean Parks is expensive because coming from the Big Island, got to rent one car, all that stuff. So Sean Parks ends up being just as expensive as lead. You know what I mean? So it was an economic decision, and the fact that Shem was here on the island. So we want to continue the show. I'll come home for like the annual yearly show, the anniversary show, and in between shows. And then I'm also traveling with, been doing shows across the state once a year with Daniel Ho and Tia Carrera that seemed to work out really good for Daniel and Well, we did Molokai, we did Kauai, Oahu, we played Blue Note, and we played Big Island, a couple of times. So we want to keep that going. So that's another time when I come home. Then I also teach this school, this alternate. It's like a homeschooling. There's about 80 to 120 students in haiku. Yeah, we do everything, poi pounding, we make lalas, all of that, and I help them get their garden started. They have like a 50-acre garden with all kinds of stuff going. Most of them are vegetarian too, but they'll eat feral stuff, like they'll eat the feral pigs or feral. They won't take anything from the store. So we make lalas with deer meat. It'd be whatever,
Nice.
So that's. And I want to come back for makahiki season for that, either October or in the end of makahiki in about February, March, like that.
And then what about for the workshop?
Yeah, so the workshop too, we definitely going to come back for that. And then right now we're just going to another phase where we're letting go of all our tents, because it takes money to store them, And we found out if we hire somebody to put them up, take them down, it'll be just and less more.
We're too old for this.
Yeah, we're getting too old for stand up on the ladder and all that. And we source it for our students and friends, but it's just too much. You know what I mean? So I just listened to what he's like. Who's been leading that was Nancy and Wainani, and also. Megan, they said we can do this better. So Megan said let's try and go to the catering. So I just I'm not doing the work, so let's go. Just go with the flow. Yeah. So the show is still gonna go. The Slacky show is gonna go as long as it can go, until we go belly up or whatever. But it seems. What almost killed us really was COVID. For 2 years we didn't have a show, and then after that, when the fires happened in Lahaina, that we couldn't play music for 2 years. Then another 3-4 months, you know what I mean. And we were lucky we were able to come back.
All right. Well, to wrap up, Uncle,
Okay.
you have any last thoughts that you want to share out there to the ukulele world?
Well, I think I want you to look at yourself as an example, and look at what was the things that there's not like a lot of action happening in Honoka'a, but you were able to kind of like weave your way through and create a life for yourself with whatever it was this shit, from your environment over there. So how were you able to? Did you were able to do that? What was the things that you would hand over to the next generation yourself? That helped you, that kept you on. I heard that you told me you started to garden and that kind of stuff, and So what was the thing that kind of launched you? So so you end up coming to our workshop every year. So what was it?
To come here?
No. That kept you going. You
Like inspiration.
Left. Yeah, you left Institute of Hawaiian Music, and then after that, you just kind of went back to Honoka'a, and you kind of thrived. So how do you? Not only survive, but you kind of thrived.
Yeah, I'm just wanting to be able to take the steps that I can do over there in a small kind of not very good or big music scene so that when opportunities like this come around, I have moved forwards. That was kind of always the fire under my butt, was like, well, if I go back to Uncle George's workshop or whatever, next time I see those guys, I want to be a little bit better. I want to have done this project or that project, and then just small stuff. And the website has been huge for allowing me to do some teaching remotely and have a little bit of income to make up for that lack of big time music scene.
Yeah, and that's really good. And who was really good at that was Jeff Peterson. He said, and he has a Wednesday concert that he does no matter where he's at, and you get people. And we tried that, over here. During COVID, we tried to do a concert, and we did a couple of times where we and in Napirikai, it was all just chairs in the back. And we just make the stage enough so we tried, and, it wasn't that easy. We get like 2 or 3 people log on, and we got this production on with 5 guys on stage, and with what an audience to interact with you. It's like, what? You don't know what you do. It's like you have no interaction, right, with your audience. So how do you do it?
Well, I'm teaching to a camera, so
okay. So you learn how to teach to the camera.
You get used to it over time, but it's not like I don't play music for the camera. I'm like teaching, so it's teach kind of the same way you would with a group. That just the group isn't there. But certainly performing, I have no idea how you would do that without a crowd.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird, We tried it for a couple of times, and it didn't pan out. It wasn't worth our effort to set up the sound system, everything, and to have only 2 or 3 people log in. And maybe we didn't have the bandwidth, to catch everybody. So it's like, for us, it's like hit and miss, And lucky for us, we had more hits than misses. So that's why the show keeps on going on. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Uncle.
Okay. Did it help you?
That's great. I just most of the people I'm reaching are, they're in the mainland. They don't have a Hawaiian connection. I think that, even as a haole guy, the best thing that we can do is share the source of the Hawaiian music magic, which is Hawaiians and Hawaiian thinking, and just being able to talk to you, I think, is wonderful for opening that up and just bringing that to a greater audience, so that people can, appreciate the background of the ukulele, and that sure, you can play Jimi Hendrix, but you should be playing Hawaiian music, and trying to capture that original feel and bring it back to that. Yeah.
Even Sterling, I remember the first time he was doing all these rock and roll licks, but he couldn't play one single song. He had all the licks down, but not the song. And I think it was a slacky show that at least he learned a couple, all the way through one song. So thankful for that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. So many stories. I love the places that Uncle's mind goes when you ask a certain question. His mind goes to something that is very relevant, but not in the way that you expect. And because it's not what you expect, it becomes that much richer, because he somehow brings it all around, connects it, and it always comes back to caring for people, caring for the land, and the connections that we have as people, as human beings, and the love and respect that we can show for each other and help lift each other up. His whole life is built around that. And I'm so fortunate to have seen that and to have been on the receiving end of that, and really want to mahalo Uncle for his time with the interview, but also involving me in the workshop, and all of his time while I was in school, and all the opportunities and stuff that we got to do, just because that's what we happened to be doing that day. It wasn't ever oh, you're so lucky to hang out with me. It was never anything like that. It was just here's what we're doing today. We're going to roll, we're going to do this. We're going to work hard. We're going to play hard. And it's going to be a good time, because that's just what we do. That's just part of what we do. And I don't think he mentioned it in the interview, but something that I always remember Uncle telling us is, we're out there on our knees in the weeds, pulling and harvesting these different plants. And, he's telling us, it's good for your fingers. You're going to be able to play better because you've made your fingers strong from pulling weeds. But then he would also say stuff like, music is only 10% of life. All of this other stuff comes before music, or all of this other stuff makes music what it is. It informs the music. And if you don't have that other stuff, your music can only do so much, can only speak so much to people. And so hearing those insights as a young man, growing up into being a professional musician, just absolutely priceless. And what a gem, and what a wonderful man. Love you, Uncle. Can't thank you enough. And for all you listeners out there, hope you enjoyed. You can check out Uncle George at kahumoku.com. Of course, he's got that domain, and also slackkeyshow.com. He has recently moved to California, so he's not as active at the Slack Key Show, but the legacy of what he has built there still lives on with the current host, Shim Kahumoku, who is an amazing musician in his own right and kind of the next generation of Slack Key artist. If you're in Maui, I really would encourage you to go to a Slack Key show. They're every Wednesday night. It's a rotating lineup of guest artists. I'll actually be joining in September. Auntie Nancy booked me for, I think, September 10th. I'm going to be playing a double bill with Uncle Kevin Brown, which is a really wonderful opportunity. It's always a treat to share music at that level and to, have a chance to showcase your music on such a, large stage, a big platform like that. So that's exciting. That's coming up. But if you're in Maui, every week there's an amazing show going on there at the Napilikai Beach Resort. And you can just get on his mailing list to keep up to date with where he'll be. He's always touring somewhere in the mainland. And, hopefully with the move and mellowing out a little bit in his old age, he can focus on the things he needs to focus on, take care of himself, and just enjoy, all of the hard work that he's put in to lead up to this point. Because it really is quite something what he's built. All right. I will see you next month. As you're listening to this, I'm somewhere in the North Cascades enjoying a holiday, hiking around and seeing some sights. But I will be back for Saturday of next month. I fly back on the 31st, so might be a little bit burnt out and jet lagged. I'm not going to prep that episode because I feel like if I'm all charged up and it's ready to go, it's going to be great. Otherwise, maybe a day or two late as I get my bearings and get back onto Hawaii speed, Hawaii vibes, Hawaii time. But yeah, wherever you listen to your podcasts, please subscribe. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for being here. If you want to support, check out liveukulele.com/store. You can also become a supporting member. I hope that music is bringing you much joy wherever you're at in the world. Remember that your music can bring joy to other people as well. It's not necessarily something to keep for yourself. If you can share it out there, play a song for somebody, that's really a beautiful thing, and the world needs it more than ever. You don't have to be a professional to share beautiful music and to create beautiful human moments. Ahui ho.